program or any one of our sports, then certainly get in touch with us and we'll answer those questions. So we've talked about going to Darwin. Now, Darwin's out of season. You have to go in the dry up there. So normally this championship would be held a little bit later in the year, but you're actually going in June, I believe. Is that right?
August, early August.
I'm sorry, you're going in early August.
Yes. It's probably maybe a week or two earlier than normal. Yeah.
But I've read a recent bulletin that talks about fans and airflow and maybe some air conditioning, maybe a little bit different conditions to what the kids are used to.
Yeah, I think we'll be packing light when we go up there, shorts and t-shirts and those sorts of things. So it'll be challenging for the players, I think, having the high temperature conditions up there. So obviously, those things that are important, hydrating and taking care of your body will be definitely important when we take the team up.
Recovery, etc.
Absolutely.
These things are amplified when you go to those warmer conditions.
Absolutely,
But it's all part of the learning experience, isn't it? I mean, it's about taking kids out of their comfort zone and challenging them in that space, not just against, obviously, other gifted and talented students from around the country, but, away from their home, away from their home court, away from their friends, and being able to perform in a different environment.
I guess for the players that we work with who are 12 and under, it's their first real elite basketball experience.
Right.
So for some of them it's eye-opening what we do, and for others who might have been exposed to some elements of it before, but they certainly get something out of it from an elite competition perspective.
Air travel is a lot more common these days, but I've known some of our 12 and unders to actually take their first flights with Team Vic. It's certainly happened before that it might be the first time that they've flown. For some of them, and school camp programs are pretty common these days, but for some of them it can be their first time where they're out of the state and get to go interstate. So, again, great learning opportunities for the kids. And this is, I guess, an emphasis of School Sport Australia is that, we really do focus on the educational opportunities that are available to the kids. Great that they learn more about their basketball, but fantastic that they get to meet kids from interstate. Fantastic that they get to travel and experience other parts of the country. At the end of the day, meet great people like yourselves and bring something back. And, you talked about bringing something back to your club. Well, I think a lot of these kids bring stuff back into their own communities as well. And they become real leaders in that space as a result, because other kids will look after them. Other kids will look up to them after they've been part of Team Vic.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic pathway for students to, firstly represent and put on the Team Vic uniform, but also maybe a pathway into further success where they have opportunities with Basketball Victoria to represent the state teams. And I think this is all sort of a great stepping stone for a lot of athletes, as you know, Sam, that have come through with both the boys and the girls that have gone on to state selection and representation. And like you're saying about leadership opportunities and captain roles and various clubs that they're involved in. So it's a fantastic way to get involved.
I'm going to move on to, I guess, one of those key questions. One of the key questions we often get our families post-trial actually asking for feedback on, what they can improve on. But, ahead of our trials coming up, I guess one of the key questions is, what are you looking for? Like, you guys are the ones that are picking the eyes out of the skills that the kids demonstrate, maybe the personality traits that the kids demonstrate. So is it possible to put a finger on, I guess, some characteristics that you look for in your trials?
Yeah, I think, we always speak about it, and it's the first thing that comes up every time.
Yes.
We address the group before they start the conference trials, and I think both Sam and I have the same thing on our minds is defence. Defence is the first thing that sort of is the thing that we address. A player that can play defence and contain and guard their player, has a great opportunity to make the team and really stand out in front of us, and we really noticed that very, very quickly. And obviously defensive, possessions will lead into an opportunity to score an offence, and that's something that we sort of focus on initially first. That I think that is
and I think that's
really important.
Great information for kids to know. You can talk about it pre-conference trial or pre-state trial, but often kids might be a bit nervous, maybe messages aren't going in, and so if they can know that beforehand, that's one of the keys that you're looking for. Practice those skills before they get there. They can warm up those skills before they get there, and then they can really hone in and demonstrate those skills when they get there. What else is on the agenda for our coaches and selectors?
Oh, one of the things that I really like to see in my players, and it's often a differential between kids who we end up selecting and kids that we don't, is a competitor, a kid who would jump on the floor and pick up the ball, or the kid who chases down the fast break. So that real desire to compete and work hard. I think that's a...
Guys, we have a couple of questions coming in from our audience. So I've got a question from Amanda. Hi guys, is the Team Vic program similar to the Country Vic program for the younger kids? Now, I'm not familiar with the Country Vic program. Is that something that you guys can comment on?
Yeah, I'm personally not that familiar with the Country Vic program as well.
No,
so,
I know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And the Country Vic have Country Academy programs that they run satellites around the state.
Yes.
And then once they get into the under 6, there's Southern Cross Challenge that comes up through Basketball Victoria.
Yep.
That's a real first opportunity for both Vic Country and Vic Metro to compete, representing Basketball Victoria.
Yeah.
Our program comes in a year before that.
Okay. And I guess the other significant difference with the Team Vic program, Amanda, is that the program is a statewide program. So those initial trials happen all around the state in the local areas. We have 8 regions across the state. We have several divisions within those regions. And we offer kids the opportunity to try out somewhere locally first. Being a statewide program, we also feed in the same number of students from each of those areas. So when it comes to conference trials, whether you come from the far north up in Mildura, or whether you're coming from Warrnambool, or whether you're coming from Metro Melbourne, you've actually got the same opportunity as everybody to actually progress on to the next stage of trials. And then with the North East West South structure, again, we've got that opportunity for people to try out locally. So I think that is a really important point to note, is that we are a statewide trial, and we offer kids right across the state the opportunity to get involved. Now I've got a cheeky question coming in from Kylie. Kylie asks, do you think your coaching success is a reflection of the wonderful team managers that you have had over the years? Is this question being planted, do you think?
Well, the funny thing about this is that in Justin's 3 gold medals that he's won, and two of my gold medals, the team managers were Kylie and Sam.
Oh, were they? So thanks, Kylie, for writing in your question. And
we couldn't have done it without you guys.
Absolutely not. And I think that for Kylie's jest there, the teamwork that we often see between our team officials is significant. We put together groups of coaches and managers, and when we send them away, they may or may not know each other beforehand, but it's a significant relationship between those two. I guess our general approach is that the coach looks after the players and the manager looks after the parents. Sometimes there does need to be a divide between the two, but I know that the coach and the manager often work really closely together to actually create the success that we have. And even though they have defined roles within their jobs, they also have some roles that cross over quite a lot. So it's a great question, Kylie, but at the same time,
I have to give a shout out to my manager Sam Thompson, who he's as the label team manager, but he's the assistant coach, he's the parent delegate, he's Mr. Organisation,
water boy,
he's everything. So good on you, Sam, you're a legend.
There is significant responsibility for other team officials as well. And look, we often have some of our parents involved too. I mean, depending on what responsibilities are required, we may actually engage with our parents. So again, I know that my sort of background is mostly in our cricket program, and our cricket program, we rely on our parents to actually score the games for us. There's still at a school sport level an expectation that our families are stakeholders in this, and they do get involved. And I know with a lot of our teams, we'll meet with the parents afterwards, for example, and have a chat with them about the game and how things have gone, and that's a significant part of our program too.
I think in any sport, parents play a massive role in getting their kids to trainings, getting them to games, supporting them, encouraging them.
And I don't disagree with that, but what I do find sometimes in community sport is sometimes there's like a big curtain put up, and and the door is shut, and parents are sometimes locked out of what it is that we're presenting, even though I believe that they're significant stakeholders. So I think sometimes school sport has that as a bit of a difference in terms of the way that we present, is that we do look to engage with our parents, because we're dealing with school-aged children here, and it is important. Our parents are important in that process.
My team manager, Lisa, has a saying that she says at the first get-together, we're all one big family now.
Yeah.
Coaches, team managers, players, parents. That's how she goes about.
We've got another question coming in. I think it's actually coming from Jai. So Jai says, from your experience, what strategies can you recommend for players with nerves?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think, Jai, really just going out and being yourself. You are who you are, and you have the skills. You've been recognised to get to that opportunity, and you've shown something to the selectors to get there. So I think for you to be anything other than who you are is you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to make the team. So I think you're definitely going to have those nerves. That's a part of being human. But just being who you are and just giving it your best shot. That's all you can do, I think.
Sam, any other advice?
I always think that if you're not a little bit nervous, you're not necessarily ready to go.
Sure.
So I like to embrace those nerves. I encourage my players to go and embrace those nerves and be ready to get out.
And I think that my experience in terms of I'm not an elite participant, but I've watched a lot of gifted and talented people, and I think that's what they do. I think they work out how to actually make a positive out of those nerves and actually use them to their benefit. And I think what you've said, Justin, in terms of backing yourself too, being prepared to get out there and take the risks and I guess embrace the experience, whatever the outcome, is part of the key to handling those nerves as well. Great. Another question?
It's from YouTube, so we're on Facebook.
Yep. So a question from Panache. If you make it through trials, does it mean you're going to Darwin? Damn good question.
It is a good one.
So we've obviously had a bit of a chat about that there's several stages of trials. So, starting off with division and region.
Yep.
And if you make it through.
Probably talk about what happens from state camp. Once we've selected the team.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, I think once we've selected that team, we have, depending on the year that we are in, if we are in a Pacific School Games year, but it's usually 6 trainings that we have before we go away. And this year, I think it's going to be the same. We have 6. Am I right in saying that? So we don't have a lot of time together. So in that time, we're really sort of preparing, getting the team ready with our offensive and defensive structures and sort of gelling the group together. We have a lot of sort of team bonding opportunities where we, it might be a restaurant meet-up or a social activity that we can get to know. The players more so can get to know one another and really building that chemistry in preparation for going away. So I think, that's something that we plan to do again this year and something that will be important to have to continue our success, hopefully. So.
And just sort of carrying on from Panache's question, if you've made it through each of the levels of trials, you get to state camp. How soon do you find out whether you've made that 10?
So from the end of the camp, it's usually by the close of business the next day that the team will be posted on the School Sport Victoria website.
Great.
From that point, it's usually, or this year, it's about a week and a half, and we get together for our first training session.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, people can expect to be put out of their misery, for want of a better term, in terms of finding out. So, there might be a nervous 24 hours or so, but we certainly act as quickly as possible to take those selections. So process from your recommendations is we do some double checking on the people who've been nominated, and then as soon as we're happy with the double checking, then we actually organise our communications people to post that to the School Sport Victoria website. So there's no intent to hold those decisions up. There's certainly intent to give people the good news as soon as possible, and that's a really slick and efficient process that we try and achieve to, satisfy our people out there. Now, I've got a question coming in from Ty. Does the team have emergencies?
Yeah, we have two emergencies that we usually take on board with us, and they have an opportunity to train with us. And ideally, we would love to take those emergencies with us, but we have the team of the final 10. And then at our last training, they'll conclude with us, and then we'll sort of have our team activities together, and then prepare and finalise that for the transition onto to the national tournament.
Yeah, so we embrace them as part of the team right up until the point where it's the last training session and we're ready to travel, and there's no injuries that would require a swap of players.
So from a Team Vic point of view, emergencies are required to purchase their competition strip, but that's the only actual financial outlay that they make. And the reason why they have to purchase competition strip is in case at the last minute they get called in to the team. Competition strips take a period of time to manufacture because they're all made to order. Whereas your walkout gear, like the gear that we're wearing, is something that sits on the shelf. So we can get hold of that gear really quite quickly. But a competition uniform is a special uniform. It is made to order, and it needs time to be prepared. So if you're selected as an emergency, you're treated like a team member. As the guys said, you purchase a competition uniform, you go to all the training sessions, but at the end of the day, you just don't take off and go to Darwin with the group. And no one wishes an injury or an illness or a reason for a person to withdraw, but those emergencies are there just in case we actually need to call someone in. So, yeah, but great. Thanks, Ty. Great question. Remember to like SSV's Facebook page and hit subscribe with SSV's YouTube channel to continue asking questions. Guys, I'll just wrap up that section about what are you looking for. So we talked about defence. We also talked about, your situation with, being dogged at the ball and really wanting to be competitive. Is there anything else that stands out for you as, I guess, a key message to the kids that are going to come to trial?
Absolutely. I think we look for coachable players. We look for players that can really take on board the feedback. And particularly at the state selection camp, we have an opportunity where we can pass along messages to Basketball Victoria. We might be looking at a particular player or a group of players, and we might try, give them an opportunity to tell the coach to direct to them, try and work on this because the coaches want to see, the selectors want to see this. So there may be various messages that we pass through Basketball Victoria coaches that sort of support us and help us with our selection process.
Okay, terrific. I've got a question here around, what happens if a player can't make it to the trial that they've been allocated to. So perhaps if I take this one just from a School Sport Victoria point of view. So sometimes there might be reasons why a student can't make it to a trial. They might have a school camp, for example. School camp is a really important part of a child's education, certainly not something that we want to miss because they've got a trial for our Team Vic team. The other reasons might be that they get sick or they might be injured at the time of the trial, and it's really important for us in terms of our duty of care to our athletes that they don't trial whilst they're injured or while they're ill, because obviously we don't want to actually make that situation worse, but we also want them to be able to perform to their best. So, if they're trialling while they're sick, then they're not going to be able to show their best, and ultimately that will result in probably not progressing on. So we have an invitation process that's available. On the School Sport Victoria website, under the downloads category, there is a policy which is called Team Vic Invitations. Parents or schools can go pick up that documentation, and it outlines really clearly what you can request an invitation for, and also what process you need to follow, which is basically some correspondence from the school signed off by the principal on school letterhead that comes in here to School Sport Victoria. And then one of my jobs is to actually scrutinise those invitation requests and then ultimately communicate back with the school about whether or not that's been granted or not. Now, I have approved several invitation requests already this year because of things like school camp coming up for those local region and division trials. So it's not a difficult process, and it is there to encourage players to come through, even when they've actually been allocated a trial that clashes with one of those issues. One of the things we do want to emphasise though is that if the request is made as a result of a family holiday, then that actually is not one of our criteria that we can accept. So if someone's away on a family holiday at the time when the trials are on and they request an invitation, it will be declined because family holiday is not considered to be one of the criteria that you can request an invitation on. So if you can't make it to your trial, if you pull up sick that day, it's best that you don't go. You get a medical certificate and you go back to your school and they write a letter on your behalf requesting an invitation to the next level of trial. Folks, again, remember to like SSV's Facebook page and hit subscribe to SSV's YouTube channel if you've got questions that you would like to ask the guys today. Now, we're coming towards the conclusion of our first episode, so if you do have any questions, you want to jump on really quick. Guys, in terms of, I guess, your own experience with these teams, is there anything else that you sort of think really need to pass that on to the players and the families and the teachers about being involved with Team Vic?
I think the opportunity to be involved in it. I mean, Sam and I are both teachers. We're involved in education, and we have an opportunity to be involved in this fantastic program, and we're very fortunate for that. And as I mentioned earlier, I just think it's use the opportunity to gain knowledge and experience in your game, and sort of the development process that you afforded is fantastic, and something growing up and going through the basketball programs and this is an amazing experience, and we're very fortunate to have those kinds of opportunities.
Right, terrific. Yeah, anything else, Sam? Any other tips?
I think Justin covered it off pretty well.
Good one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's taking all those good words. Ladies and gentlemen, this will wrap up our first episode tonight. We want to thank you for your engagement and encourage you again to like our SSV Facebook page. Lots of information about our various trials, our programs all comes out through those social media channels. And obviously you'll be able to watch this episode back on YouTube. If you've caught it tonight but your friends have missed it, let them know about it, and they can watch it back and get some of the tips and hints from the guys who are actually leading the charge to Darwin this year in terms of our teams and their performance up there. So look, good luck for this year's championships.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and we really do appreciate you coming in and really shedding some light on our Team Vic program and our Team Vic basketball program in particular. So thanks very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, our plan with our next show is to potentially look at our Team Vic football soccer program. So we're looking forward to presenting an opportunity in that space. We will advertise the date, the time for when that will happen, and when you can tune in and find out a bit more about our football and soccer program. And we're also looking forward to presenting you with some information about our state swimming championships coming up. For all of you who are into those water-based sports, and looking forward to the championships coming up on the Thursday after the school holidays. So thanks for tuning in this evening. Thanks to our technical staff who surround us. And once again, thanks very much, Justin and Sam, for giving up your time this evening. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Sam.
Good on you guys.
Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's a long way.
Good on you.
That's right, yeah.